So the comment that I probably get most often, how are your cameras set up? How do you capture all those angles? So today what I'm gonna do is take you through my bass boat action camera setup. I'm gonna hopefully give you some tips that'll help you never miss those fish catches on camera again. Okay, so we're out. I'm setting up my boat on a Saturday morning and we're getting ready to fish a little tournament. What are the first steps that I do? Number one, 256 gig card, okay? When I put that 256 gig card in the camera, the very first thing I'm gonna do, number one, is I'm gonna format that card. I've seen a lot of issues with cards. The camera kicks off. If you're having those type issues, I would just about guarantee it's because you're not reformatting that card. Second thing, I'm gonna plug it into my Yellow Tech. My Yellow Tech, the green light's on, meaning I've got my anchor light on the dash. I've got my connection good and sealed here. You know, another thing that I do that you can see here on my light post is I go ahead and run a little black electrical tape around the bottom. One, anytime you take the camera off of the Yellow Tech or any other mount, always put this back in and screw it in. If not, you could possibly lose that nut. I've done it before. There's no place worse than to lose that on the water. It will cost you shots. It will cost you a headache trying to find another one. And what I do is I carry a few replacements, so that may be a good idea for you as well. So talking about GoPro settings, number one, I want to run that on super view. I want that really wide field of view, okay, so that I can catch all the action, you know, off to either side of the boat. Now the Yellow Tech is your fail-safe camera. It's the camera that's going to capture almost everything. However, there are some downfalls. You know, sometimes the guy that's fishing in the back of the boat may happen to be standing in front of this camera. So that's why I run multiple cameras, and we're going to talk about those in just a second. I'm going to run this in super view. I'm going to run it in 2.7K at 60 frames per second. If you can grab 4K or a higher resolution at least 60 frames per second, then run that on this camera. You're going to have a bigger SD card though. So, you know, just understand that when you increase your frame rate and, you know, you increase your resolution, you know, you're going to have to step up your memory card. You know, I'm setting you up for an 8-hour tournament day. That 256 gig card at 2.7K, 60 frames per second should run just about your entire tournament day. Okay, so talking about camera number two, I'm going to use the Juicebox on a chest mount, and you know this Juicebox just mounts right to your chest mount. Okay, and this Juicebox on the box, it calls for about 6 hours. The GoPro battery itself usually lasts about an hour and a half. So you know, again, I'm going for 8 hours. So if I'm shooting to film 8 hours, I'm putting that 256 gig card in here. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format that card when I put it in the camera. Another good usage for this Juicebox, if you're a hunter, okay, what I will do this fall when I get out in the woods is I'll probably have multiple Juiceboxes running multiple cameras. This camera here, I'm going to set it narrow because when I do zoom that footage in, the picture quality is just going to look better, all right? I'm also going to run this camera at a little higher frame rate, okay? And the reason I'm going to run it at a higher frame rate is so that in the event that I slow-mo this view because a fish jumps or something happens out in the water in focus of this camera, you know, I really want to have that higher frame rate so that when I slow it down, it still looks clean and crisp. So probably my favorite addition to the bass boat this year is the GoPro 360 Max. You know, it's a 360 camera, and the 360 camera, what it really does is allow you to never miss an angle around the boat, 360. And this 360 camera, okay, number one, I've got it plugged up to a power source. Most of your newer bass boats have a USB port here at the dash, and that's all I'm doing. I like to run this on the side of the boat that I'm fishing because it helps me to capture that fish that maybe jumps here close to the boat, all right? And it just gives me a better perspective on that side. So one of the things that you can do with the 360 camera is set it to level with the horizon. And it's just a different perspective on a boat because as the boat moves, you know, the camera stays level with the horizon on that. And you can do all that on the back end editing. and it's just another great feature with this camera. So if you don't have a GoPro Max, go check it out. The 360-degree views are just incredible. Just gives you another perspective to enhance the quality of your videos. One thing you want to keep in mind, every time you turn this camera on, you hit record, it doesn't automatically by default go to super view. So that's one of the issues that I've had. Sometimes I'll just hit record, but nonetheless, always make sure when you go in, you hit that button to make sure it's in super view. Again, I'm using a 256 gig card. All right, I've got it plugged to a power source here at the dash, and that's convenient. Everybody should have a USB port. If not, you can add one of those for relatively cheap. Just pick that plug up, on Amazon, and you can add that, and then you've got power to this camera as well. With that 256 gig card, again, I'm grabbing all 8 hours of footage. So all 3 cameras now powered with the SD card for 8 hours, eliminating my need to pull with batteries or SD cards when I'm out hoping to concentrate on catching bass. So one of the things that I use for a different perspective is just the old DJI Spark. It's probably one of my favorite drones. I've probably had this one about as long as any drone that I've had. But this drone's relatively simple to fly. It flies by GPS, so just like your spot lock locks you in a spot, this drone is going to sit in and around the spot that unless you move it, with your remote. But nonetheless, this drone is super easy to fly. It's super easy to land on the boat. But it also has a follow mode, and you can set this thing in follow mode, and it'll follow you around the lake while you fish. And just, it can follow you up to 29 miles per hour while you're driving. So, this drone really gives you that other perspective to your videos and gives you the ability to really create some high-end content. So guys, I appreciate you watching. If you have a tip or maybe a trick that I can enhance my camera setup with, hit me up down in the comments. I'm always interested in learning new ideas. Another thing that I carry in my boat that I'm filming this video on is the Sony a6400. I would highly encourage you to have one of those in your boat as well if you want to create everything that I do in terms of, pictures, video, and really high quality content.